My daughter Lucy wouldn't go to sleep on Christmas Eve. She sat by our front window with her face pressed against the cold glass. Her breath made little fog patches that she drew hearts in with her finger. The clock in our living room had just chimed 11 times. "Daddy, when will Santa come?" she asked for the 100th time that night. I checked my watch. It was already past midnight now. "Soon, sweetheart. But Santa only comes when little girls are sleeping." My voice was getting tired from saying the same thing over and over. Lucy shook her head hard. Her messy blonde hair bounced around her shoulders. "I want to see him this time. I want to say thank you for my presents." She'd been planning this for weeks, ever since Thanksgiving. No amount of talking could change her mind about staying awake. I sat down next to her on the couch. The Christmas tree lights blinked red and green in the corner of our living room. Our house smelled like the sugar cookies we had baked earlier. "Lucy, Santa is very shy. He doesn't like when people try to watch him work." But she just smiled and turned back to the window. My wife, Sarah, had given up hours ago. She kissed Lucy goodnight and went to bed around 11. "Good luck," she whispered to me as she climbed the stairs to our bedroom. I knew I was in for a very long night with our stubborn little girl. The snow was falling harder now than it had been all day. Big white flakes stuck to the window and melted slowly down the glass. Our neighborhood looked like a Christmas card with all the houses covered in thick white snow. Most of the other houses were completely dark now. Smart families had sleeping children tucked safely in their beds. Lucy had changed into her favorite Christmas pajamas, the red ones with little reindeer printed all over them. She clutched her stuffed bear in one arm while keeping her face pressed to the window. Her eyes were wide and alert, scanning the empty street for any sign of Santa's sleigh. "Look, Daddy," Lucy pointed outside with excitement. "I see footprints in the snow." I looked where she was pointing with her small finger. There were indeed footprints leading up our front walkway from the sidewalk. But they looked wrong somehow. Too big for a normal person. Too deep. Like whoever made them was much heavier than they should be. "Those are probably from the mailman," I said, even though I knew it sounded weak. But even as I said it, I knew that wasn't right at all. The mailman hadn't come today because of the Christmas holiday. And these prints were fresh and clear. The snow was still falling gently into them, but they weren't filled in yet. Lucy pressed her face even harder against the cold window. Her breath fogged up more of the glass. "They're getting closer to our door," she whispered. Her voice sounded different now than it had all evening, less excited and happy, more worried and uncertain. I looked again at the footprints, and she was absolutely right. The footprints led in a perfectly straight line right up to our front porch. They stopped directly at our front door and seemed to just end there, but I hadn't heard anyone knock on our door or ring our doorbell. The house was completely quiet except for the soft hum of our heater and the gentle ticking of the living room clock. "Maybe we should go to bed now," I suggested gently. Something felt very wrong about those footprints in our yard. They were too wide and too deep for any normal person to make. And why would someone walk all the way up to our door in the snow and then just stand there without knocking or ringing the bell? Lucy shook her head firmly again. "Not yet, Daddy. Santa might still come soon." She pulled her favorite blanket tighter around her small shoulders. The Christmas tree lights kept blinking their steady pattern. Red, green, red, green, red, green. The soft, flashing pattern was making me feel sleepy despite my worry. The warmth of our house and the long day of Christmas preparations were catching up with me. I must have dozed off on the couch next to Lucy. When I woke up with a start, Lucy was still at the window. but now she was standing up instead of sitting down. Her blanket had fallen to the floor in a heap. She was perfectly still, like a statue. "Lucy, what are you looking at out there?" I sat up straight and rubbed my tired eyes. The clock on the wall said it was almost 3 in the morning now. The snow had stopped falling completely. Everything outside looked clean and bright white under the streetlights. "Daddy," Lucy whispered without turning around to look at me. "Someone is standing on our front porch." Her voice was so quiet and scared that I could barely hear her words. I got up from the couch and walked over to the window to see what she was staring at. At first I didn't see anything unusual, just our front porch covered in a thick layer of fresh snow. The porch light was on, making a bright yellow circle in the darkness around our door. Then I saw him standing there, a tall, dark shape standing perfectly still right next to our front door. He was wearing a red suit just like Santa Claus is supposed to wear. He had a big white beard hanging down his chest and a red hat on his head. But something was very wrong with the way he was standing there, too still and straight. Real people move around a little bit even when they're trying to stand perfectly still. This one didn't move at all, not even a tiny bit. "Is that really Santa?" Lucy asked in a whisper. Her voice sounded scared now instead of excited like it had been all night. I put my hand on her small shoulder and felt that it was shaking. "I don't know, sweetheart. Let's go upstairs and wake up Mommy right now." But before we could move away from the window, the thing standing on our porch slowly turned its head. It looked directly at our window, where we were standing, right at us. Its eyes glowed bright yellow in the porch light, not like normal human eyes at all, more like an animal's eyes when car headlights shine on them at night. Lucy grabbed my arm with both of her hands. "Daddy, his face looks really wrong." She was absolutely right about that. Even from inside the house, I could see that his face wasn't normal at all. The white beard looked dirty and matted like an old mop. His mouth was stretched too wide open, too big, like he was always smiling but not in any kind of happy way. "We need to go upstairs right now," I said firmly. I tried to pick up Lucy in my arms, but she wouldn't move away from the window. She kept staring at the thing on our porch, like she was under some kind of spell. "Lucy, come on. We have to go wake up Mommy." The thing on our porch raised one of its hands and waved at us slowly. Its fingers were far too long and far too thin for any normal person, like spider legs made of white flesh. Lucy waved back at it before I could grab her hand to stop her. "Hi, Santa," she called out loudly. Her voice echoed in our quiet house. That's when the thing started walking toward our living room window, but it wasn't normal walking like people do. It was more like gliding or floating just above the ground. Its big black boots didn't seem to touch the snow properly. The fresh snow didn't crunch under its feet like it should have when someone walks on it. I grabbed Lucy around her waist and pulled her away from the window as fast as I could. "We're going upstairs right now." She started to cry and fight against me. "But Daddy, Santa came to see me. I waited up all night for him just like I planned." "That's not Santa," I said as I carried her toward the stairs. "Santa is supposed to be nice and warm and happy. That thing outside is definitely not Santa." But even as I said those words, I wondered if I was really right. What if this was what the real Santa actually looked like? What if all the happy pictures and movies had been lies? We were only halfway up the stairs when we heard 3 loud knocks on our front door. Knock, knock, knock. They were so loud and heavy that they shook our entire house. Lucy stopped crying and fighting me. She looked back down toward the front door with wide, frightened eyes. "Ho, ho, ho. came a deep voice from outside our house. But it didn't sound anything like the jolly Santa from Christmas movies and TV shows. This voice was far too deep and rough, like someone had been screaming for many hours until their throat was raw and damaged. "Little girl, I know you're still awake in there. I saw you standing at the window watching me." I carried Lucy into our bedroom as fast as I could and shook Sarah awake roughly. "Sarah, wake up right now. There's someone outside pretending to be Santa. We need to call the police immediately." Sarah sat up fast in bed. She could hear the fear and panic in my voice clearly. "Ho, ho, ho." The horrible voice came again from outside. But this time it sounded much closer than before, like it was right outside our second-floor bedroom window instead of down by the front door. "I have special presents for good little girls who wait up all night for Santa to come." Sarah grabbed her cell phone from the nightstand and started dialing 911 with shaking fingers. Lucy was crying again, but trying to be as quiet as possible. The three of us huddled together on our bed like scared animals. Outside our house, that awful voice kept talking to us. "I know you can hear me perfectly, little Lucy. Such a pretty name for such a pretty little girl. I've been watching you all year long from far away. You've been very good this year. Very good indeed." The voice was definitely coming from right outside our second-floor bedroom window now, but that should have been completely impossible. There was no tree or ladder tall enough to reach up there. Sarah finished talking to the 911 operator in whispered, frightened words. "They're on their way here now," she whispered to Lucy and me. "They said to stay inside the house and don't open any doors or windows for anyone." We nodded and held each other even tighter on the bed. The voice outside our house laughed long and loud. It was the most horrible sound I had ever heard in my entire life, like broken glass being mixed with someone screaming in terrible pain. "The police can't help your little family tonight. This is Christmas night, my special night, the night when I visit all the children who stay awake waiting and watching for me to come." Something very heavy suddenly landed on our roof with a loud thump. We could hear slow, heavy footsteps walking back and forth above our heads. Each step made loud sounds in the ceiling, like someone wearing huge, heavy boots was pacing around up there. The ceiling creaked and groaned with each footstep. "Is he really on our roof?" Lucy asked, with tears running down her cheeks. Her eyes were wide with terror. I nodded because I didn't want to lie to her anymore. This thing, whatever it really was definitely up on our roof right now, and somehow it knew exactly where we were hiding in the house. The heavy footsteps stopped moving around. Now they were right above our bedroom. Then we heard a new sound that made our skin crawl. Scratching, like very long fingernails or sharp claws scraping against the roof tiles. The scratching got louder and louder. Small bits of dust and paint fell from our ceiling onto our bed. "He's trying to get inside," Sarah whispered in a terrified voice. She pulled Lucy even closer to her body. "The police will be here very soon. We just have to wait and stay calm." But I could hear the doubt creeping into her voice. How could normal police officers fight against something that could walk on walls and roofs like it was the ground? The terrible scratching sound stopped completely. Everything was dead quiet for several long seconds. Then we heard that awful voice again, but this time it was coming from inside our house, from somewhere downstairs. "Ho, ho, ho. I'm inside your house now, little Lucy. Are you ready to come down and get your special Christmas presents?" How did it get inside our locked house? We had checked all the doors and windows before going to bed. I always double-checked them every single night before bed. But somehow this horrible thing had found a way inside anyway. Sarah grabbed my arm tight. "The chimney," she whispered with understanding. It came down our chimney, just like Santa is supposed to do. Of course, that made perfect sense, just like Santa Claus was supposed to do in all the stories and songs. But this wasn't the friendly, jolly Santa from Christmas stories and movies. This was something completely different. Something evil that looked like Santa, but definitely wasn't Santa at all. Something that used our Christmas beliefs and wishes against us. We could hear it moving around downstairs in our living room. Heavy footsteps, right where Lucy and I had been sitting by the window just a little while ago. "I can smell you up there," the voice called up to us. "Such a sweet little family, so full of Christmas spirit and joy. It makes you smell so good." Lucy was shaking so hard that our whole bed was moving back and forth. "I'm sorry, Daddy," she whispered through her tears. "I should have gone to sleep when you told me to. I should have listened to you and Mommy." I hugged her as tight as I could. "It's not your fault, baby. You didn't know this would happen." But deep down inside, I wondered if it really was partly our fault. We had taught Lucy all about Santa Claus coming down the chimney. We had told her he would visit our house on Christmas night. We had made her believe so strongly in Santa that she couldn't sleep. And maybe that strong belief had somehow called this evil thing to our house. The heavy footsteps started coming up our stairs, very slow and deliberate, one step at a time. Each step made our whole house shake just a little bit. "Coming to find you now, little Lucy. Coming to give you your very special Christmas presents. You waited so long for me tonight. Such a good little girl who believes in Santa so much." Sarah was crying now, but trying to stay as quiet as possible. I looked around our bedroom for anything I could use to defend my family. There was nothing useful, just clothes and furniture and normal bedroom things. How do you fight against something that shouldn't even exist in the real world? The slow, heavy footsteps reached the top of our stairs. They stopped right outside our bedroom door. We could see the dark shadow of 2 big feet under the bottom of our door. Huge feet in huge black boots. The shadow didn't move for a very long time, just stood there waiting. "I know you're hiding in there," the awful voice said. It was right outside our door now, so close we could hear its rough, raspy breathing. It sounded like there was something very wrong with its lungs. "Open the door, little Lucy. Let Santa come in and give you your special Christmas presents that I brought just for you." Lucy looked at me with tears streaming down her face. "Should I open the door, Daddy? Maybe he really does have nice presents for me like regular Santa." I shook my head as hard as I could. "No, baby. Don't open that door. That's not the real Santa Claus out there." The thing outside our door laughed again with that horrible broken glass sound. "Oh, but I am Santa, little girl. I'm the real Santa Claus. The original one. The one who comes for children who don't go to sleep when they're told to. The one who rewards children for bad behavior instead of good behavior." Our bedroom door handle started to turn very slowly. We watched it move all the way down to the open position. Our door was locked from the inside, but the lock didn't seem to matter to this thing. The door started to swing open anyway. Just a small crack at first, then wider and wider. A hand pushed through the opening in our door, but it wasn't anything like a normal human hand. The fingers were far too long and far too thin for any person. The skin was white like fresh snow but looked dirty and stained. The fingernails were completely black and pointed like sharp animal claws. "Here I come, little Lucy," the voice said as the door opened wider. We could see part of the red Santa suit now, but it looked very old and dirty and torn. Not like the bright, clean suit that Santa wore in all the pictures and movies. This one was ripped in several places, stained with something dark that might have been old blood. Sarah grabbed the heavy lamp from her bedside table. "Stay away from us!" she yelled as loud as she could. She threw the lamp directly at the door with all her strength. It hit the door frame and broke into several pieces. The broken pieces fell to our bedroom floor with a loud crashing sound. The horrible thing laughed at Sarah's attempt to fight it off. Such a feisty mother. I like that very much. It will make this whole thing much more fun and interesting. The door swung open completely, and there it was, standing in our bedroom doorway. The thing that looked like Santa Claus but definitely wasn't Santa Claus. It was impossibly tall, much taller than any normal person should ever be. Its head almost touched the top of our door frame. The red Santa suit hung loose and baggy on its very thin body. The white beard was yellow and dirty like it hadn't been washed in years. But the absolute worst part was its face. Its skin was pale white like it had never seen sunlight in its entire existence. Its eyes glowed bright yellow like a wild animal's eyes at night. Its mouth was stretched far too wide in a permanent, horrible smile, and its teeth. Oh God, its teeth were sharp and pointed like a shark's teeth. "Ho, ho, ho," it said while looking directly at Lucy with those glowing yellow eyes. "There's my very special little girl, the one who waited up all night long for Santa to come visit, the one who wanted to see me so badly that she couldn't fall asleep." It took one large step into our bedroom. That's when we heard the beautiful sound of sirens outside our house. Police cars were pulling into our driveway. Bright red and blue lights flashed through our bedroom window, lighting up the walls. The horrible thing heard the sirens too. Its glowing yellow eyes looked toward our window. "The police are here!" Sarah yelled as loud as she possibly could. "We're upstairs in the master bedroom. Help us, please!" She kept yelling even though her voice was getting hoarse and raw. The thing just smiled even wider, showing more of its sharp teeth. "Police officers can't help your family tonight," it said in that horrible voice. "This is Christmas night, my special night, the night when I collect my special children, the ones who believe in me so much that they can't fall asleep, the ones whose faith calls me to their houses." But something strange was happening to the thing. It was starting to look less solid and real, like it was made of gray smoke instead of flesh and bone. The dirty red suit was fading and becoming see-through. The bright yellow eyes were getting dimmer and less bright. "No," it whispered. "It's almost morning time. The sun is starting to come up." Through our bedroom window, I could see the sky getting lighter in the east. Christmas morning was finally coming after this horrible night. And for some reason that I didn't understand, that seemed to matter very much to this evil thing. It was losing its power as the night ended and day began. "I'll be back next Christmas, little Lucy," it said as its body continued to fade away like smoke. "You'll be older then, more afraid of things, and fear makes children taste so much better than innocence does." Its voice was getting fainter and more distant, like it was speaking from very far away now. The police officers broke down our front door with a loud crash. We could hear them running up our stairs as fast as they could. "Police, where are you?" someone yelled from the hallway. "We're in here," I called back. "In the master bedroom at the end of the hall." Two police officers ran into our bedroom with their guns drawn and ready. They looked around our room quickly and carefully. "Where's the intruder you called about?" one of them asked. I pointed to where the horrible thing had been standing just moments before, but there was absolutely nothing there now, just our empty doorway. "He was standing right there," I said, still breathing hard, "dressed like Santa Claus, but he wasn't human at all." He had glowing yellow eyes and sharp teeth like an animal. The two officers looked at each other with doubt in their eyes. I could see they didn't believe what I was telling them. Sarah spoke up to support my story. We all saw him clearly. He came down our chimney somehow and got into our house. He was talking to our daughter and calling her by her name. But even as she said it, I could see doubt creeping into her own voice. Had we really seen what we thought we saw? Lucy was the only one who seemed completely sure about what had happened. He said he was the real Santa. She told the police officers in her small voice. He said he comes for kids who don't go to sleep on Christmas Eve. He had really long fingers like spider legs. The officers wrote down what she said in their notebooks, but I could see they thought it was just a child's imagination. The police officers searched our entire house from top to bottom. They checked the chimney carefully, all the doors and windows, even the attic and basement. They found absolutely no sign that anyone had broken into our house. No footprints inside, no broken locks, no damage at all except for the lamp Sarah had thrown at our bedroom door. The footprints outside in your yard are gone too, one officer told us when they finished searching. The wind must have blown snow over them and covered them up. But I remembered those footprints very clearly. They had been deep and fresh in the snow. Wind doesn't cover up deep footprints that quickly. As the sun came up on Christmas morning, the officers finished writing their report. We'll keep an extra patrol car in your neighborhood for the next few nights, they promised us. But honestly, there's no physical evidence that anyone was actually here tonight. You might have had some kind of shared nightmare. Holiday stress can do very strange things to people's minds. After the police left our house, the three of us sat together in our living room. The Christmas tree looked completely normal again, cheerful and bright with all its colorful lights. The wrapped presents underneath were still there, waiting to be opened. It was Christmas morning, but none of us felt like celebrating anything. Did we really see that horrible thing? Sarah asked quietly. Or did we all just imagine it together somehow? I didn't know how to answer her question. The more time that passed, the less real the whole experience seemed. Maybe the police officers were right. Maybe it had been some kind of group nightmare caused by stress. But Lucy seemed absolutely certain about what she had experienced. He was completely real, Daddy. He knew my name without anyone telling him. He said he'd been watching me all year long. She looked over at our fireplace with fear in her eyes. He came down our chimney just like you always said Santa would. But he wasn't nice and jolly like you said Santa was supposed to be. I felt terrible guilt in my stomach. We had filled Lucy's head with all those stories about Santa Claus coming down the chimney on Christmas night. We had made her believe so strongly in Santa that she stayed awake all night waiting and watching. And somehow that powerful belief had called something evil to our house, something that fed on children's faith and innocence. Maybe Santa Claus isn't real after all, Lucy said very quietly. She looked at all the wrapped presents under our Christmas tree. Maybe there's no magical person who watches kids all year and brings them presents. Maybe it's just parents buying things and pretending. Her voice sounded so sad and much older than 7 years. I wanted desperately to tell her that Santa was real, that the horrible thing we saw wasn't the real Santa Claus. But how could I be completely sure about that? What if there were different kinds of Santa? What if the scary one was just as real as the nice one? What if they were both just stories that became real when enough people believed in them strongly enough? We opened Christmas presents that morning, but our hearts weren't really in it. Lucy smiled politely and said thank you for each gift she unwrapped, but I could see she was just being polite. The magic and wonder of Christmas was completely gone for her. Maybe it would be gone forever now. That night, Lucy came into our bedroom carrying her stuffed bear. "I'm too scared to sleep in my own room tonight," she said with tears in her eyes. "What if he comes back tomorrow night?" We let her sleep in our bed between us. Sarah and I took turns staying awake to watch and listen, just in case. But nothing unusual happened that night, or the next night, or the night after that. Slowly, over the course of several days, we started to relax a little bit. Maybe it really had all been in our heads. Maybe holiday stress and too much Christmas excitement had made us see things that weren't actually there. A week later, I was taking down our Christmas decorations and packing them away. Lucy was helping me wrap the delicate ornaments in white tissue paper. "Daddy," she said thoughtfully, "do you think other kids saw Scary Santa too?" The question surprised me completely. "What do you mean by that?" "Well, if he comes for kids who stay awake waiting for Santa, then other kids must have seen him too at some point, right?" Lucy looked very thoughtful for a 7-year-old. "Maybe that's the real reason why grown-ups always tell kids to go to sleep early on Christmas Eve. Not because Santa is shy, but because of the other one, the scary one." Her words made me feel cold inside my chest. What if she was absolutely right about that? What if the evil Santa was the real reason for all those warnings about going to sleep on Christmas Eve? What if parents had been protecting their children from this horrible thing for hundreds of years without even knowing exactly what they were protecting them from? I decided to do some research on my computer. I looked up stories about Christmas and Santa Claus online. I found lots of happy stories about jolly old St. Nicholas bringing presents to good children. But I also found much darker stories. Old stories from Europe about creatures like Krampus, who punished bad children during the Christmas season. But Krampus wasn't quite right either. The stories said he punished children who had been bad during the year. The thing we saw seemed more interested in children who were too good, too believing, too excited about Christmas to go to sleep when they were supposed to. I found a few stories that matched our experience much better. Very old stories about a dark Santa who came for children who stayed awake on Christmas Eve. Children who wanted to see Santa so badly they wouldn't go to sleep. These stories were very rare and usually dismissed as old folklore. But they all had remarkably similar details. Glowing yellow eyes like an animal, fingers that were too long and thin, a voice like broken glass mixed with screaming, a red suit that looked old and dirty and torn, and always, the thing came specifically for children who believed too much. Children whose faith in Santa Claus was so strong it kept them awake on Christmas night. The stories called this creature different names in different places: the Dark Santa, the Christmas Shadow, the Belief Eater. But they all described the same basic thing: a creature that fed on children's faith and innocence. A parasite that used Christmas magic to hunt its prey. I didn't tell Sarah or Lucy what I had found in my research, but I made a firm mental note. Next Christmas, Lucy would be in bed early, no matter what. No matter how much she begged to stay up late. No matter how much she wanted to see Santa Claus. Some things were much better left unseen. Months passed slowly. Lucy seemed to recover from that terrible Christmas night gradually. She stopped talking about Scary Santa completely. She played with her friends and did very well in school. Sometimes I wondered if she was starting to forget what had happened to us. Maybe that was for the best after all. But sometimes I caught her looking out windows when it started to get dark outside, and she never asked about Santa Claus anymore. When other kids at school talked about Christmas and presents and Santa, Lucy would get very quiet. She had learned something that night that most children never have to learn. that believing too much in something can be very dangerous. As winter came again and the next Christmas approached, I started to worry more and more. What if that horrible thing came back to our house? What if it remembered Lucy and wanted to finish what it had started? I found myself checking our chimney and all our door and window locks every single night. Lucy noticed my increased worry and fear. "You're scared he'll come back next Christmas, aren't you, Daddy?" she asked me one cold evening in December. I tried to deny it and act normal, but she saw right through my pretending. "It's okay to be scared. I'm scared too." But I learned something important that night. "What did you learn?" I asked her gently. Lucy smiled at me, but it wasn't a normal child smile anymore. It was older and sadder and wiser. I learned that some things are real even when we really don't want them to be real, and some things we want to be real very badly aren't real at all. She was only 8 years old now, but she sounded much older and wiser than her age. That horrible night had changed her in ways I was still discovering. She had lost something very precious, the ability to believe in magic without also feeling fear. But maybe she had gained something important too, the knowledge that she was stronger than the things that scared her. This Christmas, Lucy went to bed early on Christmas Eve without any argument. She didn't ask to stay up late. She didn't press her face against the window looking for Santa's sleigh. She kissed us goodnight and went upstairs to her room without any fuss at all. "Sweet dreams, baby," I called after her as she climbed the stairs. "Remember, Santa only comes when little girls are sleeping peacefully." Lucy paused at the top of the stairs and looked back down at me. "I know, Daddy, but the other one only comes when they're awake and watching." She said it so calmly and matter-of-factly, like it was just another rule of Christmas that everyone should know by heart. Don't leave milk and cookies too close to the fireplace. Don't shake the wrapped presents too hard. And definitely don't stay awake on Christmas Eve waiting for Santa Claus, because you might get something else entirely instead. That night, Sarah and I lay in our bed listening to every sound our house made around us. Every small creak made us tense up with fear. Every tiny sound outside made us hold our breath and listen carefully. But nothing unusual happened. The house stayed completely quiet and peaceful. The chimney stayed empty. Christmas morning came without any problems. Lucy was excited about her Christmas presents, but in a completely normal, healthy way, not with the desperate, consuming belief she had shown the year before. She had learned to enjoy Christmas without letting it take over her life. In a strange way, she was wiser about these things than most adults. But sometimes on very quiet winter nights, I still think about that horrible thing. The creature that looked like Santa Claus, but definitely wasn't Santa Claus. I wonder if it's out there somewhere right now, waiting patiently for another child who believes too much. Another family that doesn't know the real, hidden rules of Christmas. And I wonder if Lucy was completely right about everything. If parents have been protecting their children from this evil thing for many generations without even knowing exactly what they were protecting them from. All those stern warnings about going to sleep early on Christmas Eve. All those stories about Santa being shy and not wanting to be seen by children. Maybe they weren't just to preserve the innocent magic of Christmas. Maybe they were to preserve something much more important than magic. Maybe they were meant to preserve life itself. Because now I know the terrible truth that Lucy learned during that awful night. There are always two sides to every story, even Christmas stories. There's the bright, happy Santa who rewards good children with wonderful presents. And there's the dark Santa who comes for children who want to see him too badly, who believe too strongly, who can't let go of their faith long enough to fall asleep. Both versions are completely real. Both are always waiting and watching. And both come down the chimney on Christmas Eve night. The only difference between them is whether you're safely asleep or dangerously awake when they finally arrive at your house. So when Christmas comes to your house this year, please make sure your children are sleeping soundly. Make sure they go to bed early and stay in their beds all night long. Because Santa Claus, the real Santa, the good Santa, the one you want to visit, only comes for children who are sleeping peacefully. The other one comes for everyone else who dares to stay awake and watch. And trust me when I tell you this, you really don't want to meet the other one. Not ever.